Do you ever feel like the pressure of your job is just crushing you and weighing you down? As a business owner, people look at us and they're like, oh, you're so lucky that you get to run this business and you have all this freedom and you have the ability to make your dreams come true. And that's true. That's all accurate. However, they don't see the other side of it, the secret side of it, the quiet side of it that we wrestle with behind closed doors, that we want to keep hidden and pressed down so that nobody sees what's going on inside of us, because we got to have this professional profile. We've got to have this image that we project out into the world. And if people saw how stressed out, how pressured, how full of anxiety that we get sometimes, we're afraid that that would cause us to lose everything. And so we find ways to try to distract and push forward and drive forward, because that's what YouTube tells us to do, right? That we just got to keep going forward and hustling harder and pushing harder. And that is not the way to do it a lot of times. Yes, you've got to hustle, but if you want to have long-term success and you want to have a sense of joy while you're going through your life, if you really want to experience that freedom, because when you have a job, you become your own boss, and then all that freedom that we thought we were going to have, where is it? Right? And the more successful you become, the less freedom you often have, because you have more responsibilities and you have more people relying on you. So when you go on the internet, I looked on the internet before I made this video for you to see what's the advice that people are giving to help calm this pressure, to help with developing a more peaceful mindset. And it's all the same stuff. It's meditate, go for a walk, work out, create smaller goals, make big goals into small goals, right? Rely on others. Great, that's wonderful. But that is surface, and you're probably doing that already. So what do you do when you're feeling really pressured or really stressed, which is really fear, right? We don't like to think of ourselves as being afraid, because we're confident, we're risk takers, we make things happen, we're going to go out there and conquer the world. So we don't view ourselves as people who are scared, but that's really what stress is. Stress is when we start to feel scared, upset, worried, and pressured. So when I begin working with a new client, the first thing we do is we identify what that fear is. And we don't do it by trying to figure out consciously what the fear is. What we do is we start with getting in touch with the feeling that they're having, and imagine following that feeling all the way back to the very first time they ever had that feeling. We use what I call hypnotic regression to be able to do that. And with this technique, we're able to help them go back to a time when they were feeling peaceful, and then something happened, and then they had this feeling that came up inside because of the experience that they were going through. And that feeling came with it, a belief that came with it, right? So all of a sudden I go through this experience of not having enough money, and now it's locked into my mind that I'm never going to have enough, which means that I'm not safe. And if I'm not safe, it means it's because I'm not good enough to be able to take care of myself. So ultimately, the biggest fear we have is that I'm not enough. And then because we have that fear tucked deep into our unconscious mind, now we're constantly going through life, no matter how successful we are, with this deeply ingrained hidden fear in our mind that I'm still not enough. I'm still not safe. You know, I can build it up, but it can fall apart any minute. I could have all this money, but I could lose it at any second, right? And you might have had experiences, which if you're successful, we have all had that, of you had a lot of money and then you lost a lot of money, right? Or you made a lot of money and then you spent a lot of money, you know, where our bills get higher and then we just feel broke at a higher level, right? So, you know, things happen that reinforce that fear. And that's why you can be really successful and still feel like you're not. That's why you can accomplish so much and still feel like there's this imposter syndrome creeping in. It's not because it's accurate, it's because you have these beliefs in your mind. It's like you're a high performance race car and you've got this parking brake on in your brain and you don't know that it's there. So it's really frustrating, right? And you're like, why at my level am I still feeling this way? Well, it's almost always because of unconscious beliefs. And I don't care how successful you are. I work with people who have run huge organizations and still had these parking brakes in their brain. And when you release them, whoo, you can fly, right? And not just have more success, but have more peace while you're experiencing life. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So here's a couple of strategies that you can use that will help you right now to be able to feel more calm, more pressure, and take the pressure back down. Okay, so we're not going to use the hypnotic regression right now, but one thing you can do is start with your breathing. Control your breathing and you control your life. Here's what happens when people get stressed out. They start holding their breath. They start breathing through their mouth. They start asking themselves really lousy questions like, what if this goes wrong? What if I run out of money? And what if this doesn't work out? And then we start focusing on worst case scenarios while we're looking down. That activates the fight or flight response, and that's what we call pressure. That's the stress that we're feeling because now we're sped up inside. So we've got to do the exact opposite. So the first thing we do is we slow our breathing down and we activate the relaxation response. You do that by breathing through your nose. And if you want, look up at the same time. When you look up, it quiets the voice in your mind. You talking to yourself is what's causing the stress. So when you look up, you think, oh, it's the situation. It's not the situation. It's how you're interpreting the situation. It's the story you're telling yourself about the situation that's making you feel crushed like a can, right? So what we got to do is we've got to look up, which quiets the voice, and then we start breathing through our nose. You breathe in through your nose, down to your belly, like there's a balloon in your belly, and then you fill that balloon up by breathing in through your nose. Then you slowly exhale. Now, it doesn't matter where you breathe out, through your nose, through your mouth, doesn't matter, but you always breathe in through your nose. So let's take a breath. Now, I talk fast, so you don't have to put it in 2x speed. I just talk fast to try to get to the points. But when you're breathing, I want you to slow down, okay? So take another breath. And then let it go. Now, if you're really feeling stressed right now, like so stressed out, you went to YouTube to try to figure out how to cope with all this, and you found this video, which is great. Oh, right, it's a godsend. Then what you might have to do is the next time you breathe out, kind of lean forward and push the air all the way out of you. Just like, try to squeeze all the air out of you. Because sometimes when we're really stressed, we're tight and we can't get all the oxygen all the way down, right? So when you breathe it all out, then you can fill it all back up. You do that 4 or 5 times, you're going to activate your relaxation response. It's going to help you feel more calm and at ease. When your body starts to feel more relaxed, your mind will start to feel more relaxed. And then you can start to focus better. The second thing you do is you ask better questions. The quality of your life is being determined by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself all day long. So if you're walking through your day going, what if this goes wrong? And what if they don't show up? And what if this happens? Or now that this has happened, what does that mean? Am I going to lose my client's income? Am I not going to be able to do this? Am I not going to be able to find enough clients? If, you know, the what ifs and the worries, those lousy questions, you know, whose fault is this? Why does this always happen to me? Why can't I get through this? What's wrong with me? Right? These questions start to cause us to feel more stressed and shut down. And then, of course, it causes our mind to focus on what we don't want. You know, your brain works like a GPS. If you tell your GPS, you know, I don't want to feel stressed out, that's exactly, you know, how it's going to make you feel. Like if I tell my GPS I don't want to go to the post office, it's going to take me to the post office. So you got to tell it what you want it to do. I want to feel more calm. How can I feel more calm? What can I do to make myself feel safe? And then that's where number 3 comes in. Number 3 is when you start focusing on what you ultimately want to have happen. When we're really pressured, all we're focusing on is what we're afraid of. We're not focusing on what we want, right? In those situations, we're not playing to win, we're playing not to lose. And when we play not to lose, we're holding back and we're not trusting ourselves. And when you play not to lose, even if it looks like you're winning, you will feel like you're not. And so we want to make sure that we are asking ourselves, what do I want? And then you imagine those best case scenarios. You imagine this is all going to work out. You're going to get through this. Look at all the things that you've been through in your life and you've gotten through every single one of them. And you're going to get through this too. Now, the question is, how do you want to get through it? You're going to get through this. How do you want to get through it? Do you want to get through it feeling stressed and angry and frustrated and freaking out everybody around you? Or do you want to get it through, go through this feeling more calm, more secure, more hopeful, more optimistic, right? So when you look back on it, you don't have to look back and feel embarrassed or shameful or wish you would have done it different, or you didn't have, you know, all these casualties that you left in the quake of your anxiety, right? Collateral damage. Instead, you want to look back and say, you know what? I handled that with grace. I handled that with faith. I handled that with a feeling of ease, with a knowing that this too shall pass, that I am safe, that I got this, and that everything's going to be okay, right? And if you want to really supercharge this, and add some prayer, ask for God's strength instead of just relying on your own. So let's review real quick. So you're going to do your power breathing to slow down and reset. Then you're going to ask better questions, if I call them power questions, so you can focus on what you want. What resources do I have? Who can I lean on for support? How can I make this more fun? If I knew this was going to work out, if I knew it, then how could I show up in this situation? What's my next move? The third strategy is to then focus on the outcomes that you want, the positive outcomes. If you knew this was going to be okay, then play it out in your mind. Imagine it being okay so that your body is feeling safe, so that you're feeling secure. Now, if you like this and you want some more resources that will help you, then I took all my best resources and free training and I put it into my secret training vault that I share with my top clients. And I'm going to give you free access to it as well. All you got to do is click on the link below, and then you can go through the training. You can find the problems that you want to solve, and then there's a training there that will solve that. Go get those resources, believe in yourself, and know that you're just one belief away from having a huge breakthrough. You got this. Let's go.